Hello, everyone, and welcome back to That Sales Show with Coach Donna V, and I'm a Sales and Leadership Coach with Business Development University. And today, I am so excited about my guest. She is a rock star in sales. I would say that she has worked over the past two decades and has seen all the trends. She's been able to reshape a lot of organizations and help them get up to speed and be high-performing sales organizations. I have with me my sales leader, Lisa Peskin, the CEO of Business Development University. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm so
pleasure.
excited. Today, our topic is going to be on metrics and building performance metrics to make sure you can measure activities so that you can become a high-performing sales team. We know that there's a lot of things going on right now in sales and trying to understand what best practices are, how are we messaging, how are we bringing value. But at the end of the day, the secret to the sauce is it's not a secret. There's fundamentals there that just had never changed through time, and Lisa's here to tell you about that. So, Lisa, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then we'll get into, asking you some questions.
Fantastic. So I started my business 15 years ago, but I've been in sales for over 32 years. Started off selling telephone systems, and then spent 12 years at ADP, the payroll company.
That's a tough sale.
Well, working my way from sales to sales management to running the sales force, but we had weekly quotas. And back then, every Tuesday night, we had to stand up in front of the sales force and say what we sold. And if we didn't sell anything, we had to say pass. Pretty humiliating. And they put a 0 up on the screen.
Where they stuck you in a corner with your gum on your nose, like they did in Catholic school.
Not to that extent, but the pressure was there weekly, monthly, and quarterly.
Mm-hmm. No messing around.
No messing around.
And that goes back to basics. So tell me what companies are not doing effectively around building metrics. Like, what's going on that keeps them from really staying focused on the performance metrics?
Well, thank you for asking me that, because that is so key to whether it's an individual or team or a company truly understanding the metrics. And whether they're selling products or services, it's still a numbers game.
It is.
It's still a numbers game. So no matter what, you got to take a look at what the breakdown of revenue is for any individual or company. You have to understand how much you could count on for repeat business, how much you could upsell and cross-sell, and how much net new business you need coming in the door. And then we got to break down that net new business by home runs, triples, doubles, and singles to truly understand how many sales we need to make in order to hit our numbers. Mm-hmm. Then we apply our close ratio. It amazes me how many individuals and companies don't even know their close ratio, which is defined by proposals to sales. The average close ratio for business-to-business sales is 30%, 3 out of every 10. So if a company doesn't understand what their close ratio is, they're not going to see where there's an areas of opportunity to improve that close ratio. So you have to understand average sale, what the different levels are. You have to understand close ratio, because by doing that, you could really pinpoint where there's an opportunity to improve.
Yeah, so what do you think is stopping companies from having that information and breaking it down in that way?
Well,
because you have to see that in your business, right?
We see it all the time, and I'm not sure if it's stopping them, but a lot of small organizations, the CEO, the president, the owner, typically hire sales rep that they think are seasoned. So they don't think that they need to develop them. They don't think that they need to train them. They think that they could hire somebody and they could just kind of take off. So they're kind of a little hands off because they, as the leader, don't necessarily have the time, the background, the wherewithal to properly develop the salespeople.
Well, another piece of that is I don't want to feel like I'm micromanaging a seasoned person.
Exactly.
I don't want them to feel like we're monitoring what they're doing. We hired them because they're content matter experts, right? They know how to sell.
Exactly, but I think that there's a big difference. I don't believe anybody in this whole wide world likes to be micromanaged.
No.
But leaders need to set clear expectations and have a way to inspect what they expect. But the trick is to get the individuals and the teams to buy into that weekly or bi-weekly measurement because they want to get better. Otherwise, it's kind of like this, trying to twist their arm behind their back. If you get them to buy into what they need to do to hit the level of success that they want to hit, it's really important. But a lot of organizations, they're either not using a CRM or they don't even know what the key metrics that they need to measure over time to really figure out how to take their company to the next level.
Yeah, so does it start with like the CFO and the sales leadership or the executive team understanding what quotas they need to have? Like, how do they measure like what we need over last year? So if they don't know these things and they don't know what quotas they're going to establish, it's hard to break down per rep what each person has to bring in.
Well, now we're talking about a company basis and establishing quotas, and I'm a big believer in distributing more quota than you actually want to achieve as a company.
Really?
So you create that little buffer in there, so you want to distribute more quota than what you actually want to achieve.
Wow,
but from there, once you do establish quotas, and it needs to be based upon realistic expectations. So back in my ADP days, we would look at how many clients we had in the area and how many prospects were in the area, because we wanted to make the territories as equal as possible. But once we do establish the quotas, then it is reverse engineering to really determine what are the activity levels they need to do in order to achieve the results that we need them to achieve.
Right. So even the most seasoned of salesperson should have a business plan and an activity plan 30, 60, 90 days, and have an accountability partner in their sales manager.
It's probably one of the most critical things, and I find that so many salespeople and so many sales organizations wing it every day without any rhyme or reason to what they're doing. So salespeople will check their email, they'll check their voicemail, but they'll see what appointments they have on the calendar, but there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. And if we've got 3,000 minutes, if we're working a 50-hour work week, we got to figure out how we're going to allocate those 3,000 minutes to get the biggest bang for the buck, because time is our most valuable resource. So we really do need an ongoing 30, 60, 90-day game plan. And a lot of times when companies start engaging with BDU, it's really establishing that game plan. We could do it within an hour for any individual or organization. And once they've got that game plan, now we can measure the progress and see where the obstacles are and figure out how to help them.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when really in any sale, you have to, part of your job is managing those hours to go on client visits, to do presentations, to prepare presentations. And what seems to get everybody away from the administrative part, which is, where am I today? Did I hit my 50 phone calls? What happened in those phone calls? Did any of them turn into, new business conversations? And that's really about time management.
It's time management, but here I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she's a brand new client, and she's a hard worker. She's responsible for business development and prospecting, but when we really dove deeper into it, we realized that she was just taking a very scattered approach. It takes 8 to 12 touches to get into an organization. Well, she had maybe 500 different companies that she's calling like this, but there was no rhyme or reason. So she was not getting 8 to 10 touches or 12 touches for any one contact that she was going after. And she didn't have any goals. We need to have SMART goals, specific, measurable, aligned with the company, realistic and timed. There needs to be both activity goals and result goals as part of the game plan.
Do you think like methodologies like the challenger sale and all that has gotten people away from the SMART goal mentality?
I'm not so sure about that. The challenger sale is just one methodology to get into companies, right? But not everything works for everybody. Not everything works in every situation. So we could try different tactics. They're going to work in some situations. They're not going to work in other situations.
But math is math.
Math
And
is math.
Meeting goals is meeting goals.
And it is about messaging. And if we are generating those appointments, what are we saying? So the person I was working with yesterday, she wasn't referencing other clients that she works with. She wasn't using benefit statements.
Yeah.
She wasn't going with the alternative choice close and really tying down the appointments. So she had parts of the process down, but she was missing some key points that were really stopping her from getting a lot of qualified appointments.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to stop here. We're going to go to commercial break, everybody, and please come back because we are going to now be talking about more of the how. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for sticking by.
And we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write. The ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to That Sales Show. And I have with me the great rock star, Lisa Peskin, the CEO of Business Development University, who I have the distinct pleasure of working with. I've stalked her for years, and she finally said yes to letting me
And I'm
coach with her. So I want to go back to talking a little bit about clients or reps being a little bit disorganized, or just there's so many priorities happening for them that they get a little scattered, right? So they kind of are reactionary. And one of the things that I want to just touch on a little bit is that, one, when you have an accountability partner or a business coach, it gives you an opportunity to work through some of the structure that they need, put some structure in place, and give them some clarity by getting them back to self, right? And being able to do that and having, I see reps when they get really busy, their self-regulation and their self-management during stress events like that. Oh my God, I got to hit my number, because we are under a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
I mean, when somebody starts talking about, hey, you're great, but let's go over your numbers and how many phone calls did you hit today? It's a whole nother story, right? So there's that going in when you're starting that coaching engagement, you're kind of new, you're trying to build that relationship. How do you get people to buy into this new thing without letting them get that stress in their head, like, you're judging them on their performance?
Well, that's a great question. What I always say is, I'm not your mom, I'm your sister, and I'm shoulder to shoulder, or we're shoulder to shoulder. Mm-hmm. So it's not about, we're not your boss. It's about helping you to get more successful.
Yes.
Just like a personal trainer at a gym
Yeah.
gets you to do those couple extra reps, but then your body starts getting into shape a lot quicker.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
And so it's about getting the buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Getting them to understand what it's going to take for them to be successful, and how can you make a difference,
Yeah.
right? That's what it's all about, and really giving them some ideas that start paying off, and then they start drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh, I see. So give me an example.
So here's a great example. We're big believers in the triage approach, which is for any individual, team, or company understanding what 3 areas that, if improved upon, will have the biggest impact on performance. Because oftentimes we see 10 areas of opportunity, but someone can't focus on 10 different areas.
Yeah.
So if we hone in on the 3 that are going to have the biggest impact on performance. So I started working with this individual. Her boss said he bought out a company, he had a 9-year rep, she doesn't know how to close business. And he wanted to send her all the way to Philadelphia from St. Louis to our training class. Well, I said, what are you going to send her all the way here? What if this isn't a training issue? Let me just talk to her for an hour. After an hour, it was perfectly clear, 3 different things. 1, all her next steps were loosey-goosey. So if you said you're making a decision next week, she goes, I'll call you next week, and then you never picked up the phone. Number 2, she had 2 steps of her sales process mixed up. So she was going into presentation mode before she found out what they cared about, hoping and praying what she said made an impact. The 3rd piece was she was selling an $18,000 solution, database of physicians to hospitals, and all the hospitals were saying, I'm not spending $18,000 on a database. So I suggested she ask 2 more questions. How many openings for how many months? Because 1 opening is $100,000 of lost revenue. So if they had 2 openings for 2 months, now it's a $400,000 problem. Once she started presenting her $18,000 solution in the context of a $400,000 problem, it became a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I started working with her January of 2015. She finished #1 in the quarter for the first 2 quarters of 2015, hit her annual goal that August, and doubled her revenues the next
Out
year.
of a 1-hour phone call? Who
Well-
wants to hire Lisa right now? How do you get her? She's Lisa Peskin.
It was probably 3 months of working with her, but out of the hour phone call, I was able to pinpoint
Yes.
exactly where her areas of opportunity
Yeah.
are. So that was just a little example. And when I was talking to Sarah later, and I said, Sarah, I'm so happy I was able to help you. She goes, help me. You changed my life.
Yeah, what an endorsement.
And so when we're working with individuals, I realized we can't cookie cutter them. When I started in sales management, I wanted everybody to be little Lisa Peskins, have my same work ethic, do things the way I did it. But what I came to realize is everybody's got their own strengths, everybody's got their own areas of opportunity, and it really is figuring out for each individual what their triage areas are. Because you could have 2 people on the same team that are very successful, but that get to the success in a very different way.
Here's how you're a brilliant coach. I mean, there is never a day that I don't talk to Lisa, that I don't walk away
Thank you.
having learned something or a fresh perspective and how I might be able to stand in a different position when I'm assessing things. And one of the things, the biggest challenges of coaching is grounding people to listen to you. When they're kind of like all up here, like you're net. So you have to hear our conversations on the phone. I'm like this, academic dork professor type, all into theory, and Lisa's like, Donna.
What's the net?
Yeah, what are we
Bottom
trying?
line.
What's are we trying to accomplish? What is the numbers? What is And you break it down and ground it without feeling like it's going to be an overwhelming process to change just a little thing. Couple things at a time. And I think you mentioned that. Just give them little successes first to hit, little theories to work on at first, and then build from there.
I had a business development person, loan officer at a bank, and I was trying to teach her how to ask for referrals. And she said to me, Lisa, you got to stop. I'm getting hives. You really have to stop. And I said, we're going to figure out the words that are going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And I remember maybe 3-4 weeks later, I get a call on a Friday afternoon. She goes, Lisa, you're going to be so proud of me. I asked and I got a referral. So sometimes it's really figuring out their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But really, it's all about helping.
Yeah.
I started this business. One of my mentors said, go into business to figure out how you could help as many people as you can. And that's why I'm writing a book, but it's all about impacting other people. And if we could get the underperformers to hit their numbers, the average ones to be good, the good ones to be great, and we could turn the great ones into superstars, now we're doing what I say every sales manager's job description is, maximizing performance and potential.
She does make it sound so easy. So one of the things that's important that I heard that I'm taking away from that too is you don't have to keep having turnover. Just try to improve everyone. Your A players, your B players, and even if you have some C players, you can, with the right kind of training and coaching and mindset stuff, you can get everybody pretty much on track. Or is that not?
Well, I believe in a couple things. First of all, I believe we need to take the bottom 20%, 10 to 20% of your sales force, and they need to go this way or this way. Because if we keep the bottom 10 to 20% still, then it says that poor performance is okay. And
It's not.
it's not okay. So we do need to move them this way or this way. But it is identifying where we could help them out. But I looked at 3 things, and I always look at 3 things. When someone's not performing at the level that they want, I look at willing, committed, able. I could teach them how to do what they need to do. But if they're not willing and committed to doing it, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Because half of sales success, not a third, but half, is attitude and motivation. Am I willing to do what it takes to be successful? Am I committed to doing it? Day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out. Because I say, why wouldn't everybody be in sales in this whole wide world? You get to meet new people all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
There's no cap to what you can make.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, if we're the average sales rep, we're getting 7 no's to every 3 yeses. The yeses are fun, but the no's aren't so much fun. And the other thing we don't get to do in sales, we don't get to go like this. Because we're only as good as our last week, our last month, and our last quarter.
That's
So
closing.
we need to be able to be strong psychologically,
Yes.
but we also need to have an unbelievable work ethic, because there is a direct correlation between the activities we do and the results that we'll get.
Yeah, it's amazing that not every, I mean, you say it and it's like, oh yeah, but you really do have a magic that helps people do that. And I think that's why you're a rainmaker, because you have the ability to do those numbers, but you're very human about it. And so there's that balance of the human being and the human doing for you. And I think that makes, a big part of the success, where sometimes internal sales managers, they can't get there like you can, because they can't be biased, and it's a little intimidating for.
Well, also what I find is a lot of sales managers out there were the best sales rep that got promoted into a sales management role. A lot of them are selling managers, which is not my favorite role in the whole wide world, where you're responsible
you
for your
can't.
own
Yeah,
number
yeah.
and leading other people. But you really have to understand that it's all about really maximizing performance and potential. That's what it's all about. But so many times the Peter Principle applies in organizations where the best salesperson isn't necessarily the best manager and the best leader.
Yeah.
And we run a 1-day sales management program on a quarterly basis for those CEOs or sales managers that have never really had formal sales training.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, my first year in sales, I was 92% sales management, I was 92% a quota, and at ADP that was not acceptable.
Wow.
And I had my team do an anonymous stop, start, and continue on me. What did they want me to stop doing, start doing, and continue doing? And that was a game changer.
Really?
It was a game changer.
So having
Absolutely.
some self-awareness about you as the leader, how it impacted their performance.
There's a big difference being able to control your own performance and making a difference in someone else's performance.
How do you discern that?
Well, you really got to take on a very consultative role, and you've got to be able to diagnose where the areas of opportunity are. I had one of my best sales reps at ADP. His mother was my mentor, and he was 168% a quota. And most sales managers would leave alone somebody that was 168%, but he was missing a piece of the pie, and I knew I could get him up to 200% a quota. And I got his buy-in. We focused on this one area, which was getting client referrals. And by the time we were done, he was 200% a quota.
It's unbelievable.
Because you really could get more out of your top performers than your bottom performers. But when I look at a sales organization, I look at the 5 rights. Do you have the right number of the right people doing the right number of the right things right? You might not have enough people. You might have the wrong people. They might not be doing enough activities.
Right,
They
right.
might be doing the wrong activities, or they might be doing the right activities wrong. And once we could diagnose that, now we can figure out how we can make an impact.
Yeah. Don't you want to hire her? I don't even have a business, and I want to go.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you on our team impacting other people.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
that's been phenomenal.
Oh, thanks.
And the work that you've been doing with playbooks is something that I think every company needs out
Yeah,
there.
thank you. Thank you for saying that. I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about how you decided to, write a book and capture all your knowledge in the printed word and share it with the world.
Well, again, my thinking, a great mentor said, go into business to try to help as many people as possible. And at my age, I think about what if, God forbid, anything happens to me tomorrow? So I have all these ideas in my head, and I've collected stories from very successful salespeople. And I want something that is really, truly a book where people can pick up and put down. And the title is not going to be this, but it could be this. What I wish they taught me in 1986 when I started in sales. Because I feel like I made every mistake in the book, and I wish that someone had told me what I know now.
Yeah.
So the concept of this book is everything that I've learned and everything that people in my life have learned when it comes to sales, and putting it in a good book that's going to reference all the key areas that people can pick up, find one thing that can make an impact on their success.
Yeah, life's too short. Learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly.
I love that. So we have a seminar coming up, a workshop tomorrow.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I
so-
really am thrilled.
Yeah, so we have a workshop coming up tomorrow. It's called The Secret Empathy, the secret ingredient to successful sales, and it's going to be around mindset and how to sell with empathy, how to self-presence, manage yourself. It's not the number stuff, but we will have, you're in there, so I'm sure it'll have some numbers popping up at some time. But why don't you tell us how we can get a hold of you and a little bit about the programs you offer so people can get a taste of business
So
development.
fantastic. So please feel free to link into me on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, BizDevU is our Twitter and our Instagram. The website is Business Development University. We have a ton of resources. So under resources, you could click on and get our BDU utensils. It's all these tools that we put together. We run a 2-day sales class, sales workshop. The next one will be in January. We also do a 1-day sales management class. And we also go into organizations and do a lot of customized programming.
Yep.
So any organization that wants help in getting referrals or getting more qualified leads in the pipeline will hone in and do very customized work that's very specific to the company and industry.
That's awesome. Okay, so tomorrow at 8:30 at the American Executive Centers, we're going to be doing Empathy, the Secret Advantage in Selling, and you can call me at 610-449-5653. I don't like calls after midnight. So, you know, hopefully if you want to register, please let me know, and we can maybe, if you call and say you watch the show, we'll give you a free pass into the event. But please do call me because security, we have to let you up in the building. So thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your being here. Tune in next week. We're going to have a great show. Safe travels over this holiday weekend. Take care.
Choosing Medicare coverage can be a very confusing and complicated process. Help is just a phone call away. 855